Are you tired of high-pressure tactics?
No, I'm not going to sign that. It's too much.
At Community Auto Group, you'll find we have a straightforward approach.
If other dealers have made you uncomfortable, give Community a try. You'll enjoy your experience here and find a straightforward deal that's right for you, not high-pressure tactics.
Community Auto Group, straightforward deals from the straightforward dealer.
Good evening. Testing. Good evening. Welcome to the Mayor and Council Candidate Forum tonight. I'm glad you guys could all show up. Just a couple of house cleaning things here first. Appreciate for those in attendance and for the candidates that did show up. If anybody has a cell phone, if you would think about that right now and maybe shut that down, so less disruption. I'd like to thank a couple of people in advance here. We got Daryl with Herb and George here. He's been very good at helping me over the last 20 plus years conduct these forums in Mason City, a voice for the people, and I appreciate Daryl coming out tonight and helping us with this in the microphone system.
Chris, mic up here.
Okay. And our moderator tonight, as many of you may know, but to keep things neutral, considering the politics in Mason City, we went outside of Mason City and got the mayor of Hampton, Sean Dietz, here as our moderator. I appreciate him giving up his evening to come help us with democracy in Mason City. There was just a couple of quick things I wanted to say. I don't know how many people you come in contact with, but there's a big misconception that you get picked for jury duty if you vote. I found that out going door to door. You know, as you know, I ran for political office in the past too, and I asked people, you know, and they said they don't vote, and I said, why? And they said, I don't want to go to jury duty. But so if you know any of those people, let them know it's not just based upon voter registration, it's driver's licenses too. So they have nothing to lose by getting off their butts and getting out November 5th, I believe it is. Yes. So with much to do, I'm going to turn this over to Sean, and Sean's got a couple things, and we'll get started here. And 7 to 9 if we run over. If it's 10 and you guys want to stay and they don't kick us out, we'll stay till 10.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris. And I just want to mention a couple things on the time frame. What we're going to do here is very loose-based. As I don't know if anybody of you know, but the way I run council meetings in Hampton, I'm very flexible and very open, and that's how I am with these as well. And so what I'm going to do is, we don't have a formal time limit per se for the candidates to answer their questions. What we'll do is if I feel they're getting a little lengthy, we do have a timekeeper up here. I'll give him a nod to go ahead and give a 30-second warning. It seemed to work out pretty fair for everybody the other day, but I want everybody to make sure that they can get their responses in a full manner so that everybody can understand exactly what the point is. And again, one thing I would do is I would recognize the one sitting councilman who is here, Alex Kuhn. So thank you for coming. Appreciate that. And with that, I think we'll get things rolling. And if you do have a question, I'm reminded of this right away. If you do have a question that you want all of the candidates who are here to answer, please write that on your card. I have a question from Saturday that I did not do that, so I'm going to do that. That's my first question here tonight. So make sure you address that on your card, and we'll try to get as many questions in as we can. So with that, we'll get things started. Actually, I think I've fibbed a little bit. The very first thing we're going to do is, if I could have each of the candidates go ahead and introduce yourselves, and just a brief introduction, and maybe why you're running. We'll start down at the end with Ms. Girk.
I'm Cheryl Girk, and I'm a candidate for
You have to turn your mic on there, Cheryl.
I'm Cheryl Girk, and I'm a candidate for the Second Ward Council. My educational background is in history and government, and I don't think there's probably a person besides maybe Max who has attended more meetings and work sessions than I have. I also work for the federal government in Washington, D.C., and I would like the opportunity to include all of you in representation. I think the people who have built this city, the senior citizens, need a voice in their government. And I thank you all for coming tonight.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl. Ms. Draper?
I am Jody Draper. No, maybe just don't want to squeal.
Don't mic up, do you?
I'm running for City Council, Second Ward. I thought about it a few years ago. Thought I needed to stop and take some time, do some due diligence, some research, and I really felt like I could represent Second Ward and the citizens of Mason City in inclusive representation. What I bring to the table is my financial abilities. I'm the fiscal manager for 21 counties in Iowa for Fund 10, which is the Mental Health and Disabilities Fund. So before anything gets paid, the last stop is at my desk to make sure that it qualifies for payment. We want to take care of our disabled and mentally ill, although we do want to be fiscally responsible to the taxpayers and make sure it meets the Iowa code before doing so.
Thank you very much. Mr. Foster?
Yes, Leonard Foster, 60-year member of Mason City, went to grade school here and high school in Indiana. The reason I'm running is because the last 4 years, it really surprised me when they shut the citizens off from talking or speaking their piece at council meetings. You happen to be paying these guys wages, you should be paying, you're paying your taxes, and you should be able to say what you want to say, and not within 10 minutes. And that really irritated me. So I just waited for my turn to speak. And to speak, I'm going to run for at-large city council. Another issue, there's several issues that will be brought up tonight, is the elimination of the Human Rights Office. I think that started something, a snowball. If I read right last week or a couple of weeks ago, Des Moines is having their problems. There's folks down there going after Des Moines human rights. And I thought to myself, well, these guys said they want to send everything down to Des Moines. Suppose there isn't a Des Moines human rights. What happens then? All these citizens, who's going to represent them in job discrimination and sex discrimination and the whole 9 yards? And this office has been here for over 40 years, and nobody else had any complaints until this group formed. So I would hope that you would vote for us so we can get something straightened around this community and take your community back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Mr. Weaver?
Sean Dietz, thank you very much, the mayor of Hampton that came and did this Saturday and then tonight. And Chris Watts, you're back, Chris, after a couple years layoff, 3-year layoff. I appreciate it. We've been out here before. I also want to say thank you to John Skipper for showing up. And I also like to recognize Bob Fisher from KGLO, finally. They've been AWOL and they're here tonight, and I appreciate that. We need to get back to where we were, some semblance of democracy in the community. My name is Max Weaver, and I am running for the candidacy, the office of Mayor of Mason City, the top elected official. I only have you to thank for that, even getting this far. I had less than 24 hours to turn my papers in, and I received 322 signatures from the good folks in Mason City. I'm a lifelong resident. I'll be 62 years old in the first week of January when I take office. And if you ask my boys, I play like I'm 12. But anyway, I don't know what happened. Anyway, my wife, Cindy Connor, she might be here tonight, might not. They're very busy at the hospital. I've been with her for 37 years. She's been a nurse for 32 years. Her first 5 years was Iowa City Hospitals, University of Iowa, neonatal intensive care. And she gave me 2 great boys. I started kind of late in life, but 20-year-old Ruben, you want to stand up, Ruben? Turn around, let them see you, that you look normal. 20-year-old Ruben, and my other boy, is he here? Is the big guy here? He's 22-year-old Max Henry. He's not a junior. I'm Max Frank. He's Max Henry. We've offered him $300 to change his name if he's going to stay in the community, and he is. He bought a house. But anyway, I'm going to run a tight campaign of, I'm not throwing out any barbs to anybody. We're going to talk about actual and factual. There's a division in the community, and I think people recognize that. I think Mayor Buckmeyer is doing an excellent job when it comes to the 10%ers, 15%ers. And he's building a small network around him, which you can tell in those 17 development agreements. I'd love to get into that further. So there's a division in the community, and I'm the one candidate who has been here his whole life and knows the 28, 30 neighborhoods better than anybody. At least I've been told that by some of the command staff at the police department. And I get calls from them asking me questions about who's who, and I appreciate that. So you could say that I'm the mayor after midnight, so to speak, and I want to be the mayor during the day. And I can do a darn good job. My platform, I hope I get to mention it later, will consist of jobs, public safety, equality, and I'm going to make a personal pledge to you. So as we go on tonight, I hope you get to talk about some of those issues and other things and some ideas and concepts. That's if you ask the good questions, and I hope you have. Plus, I want to thank most of all now for showing up the crowd. This is a great crowd. I'm not sure I've seen this big a crowd out here before, Chris, when we've had them out here. This is a good crowd, which tells me something's up, something's going on, and maybe that something will translate to a change in January. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Mr. Simmons.
Gotta figure out how to turn this on.
All right.
I'm Quinn Simmons. I don't really know how to follow Max's introduction there. That was pretty...
All right, Quinn, we'll talk to you later. One down.
You know, I'm 31 years old. I lived here in Mason City for most of my life. I grew up in a small town of Rockwell, about 10 miles south. You know, I decided to run because there's changes that I felt that needed to be made. Like Max says, there's a divide in our community, and it's pretty severe. You know, there's changes that have been going on that I don't like, that I don't agree with. Foster touched on the HR. You know, Max covered about everything that I could ever talk about, I think.
See you later then, Quinn.
But, you know, I believe Mason City needs a positive council, you know, and that's what I'm here for. I've run a clean campaign, stuck to the issues, the ideas that I brought forth, you know, and I wish everybody the best up here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Mr. Markworth.
Well, again, want to thank Sean Dietz for coming all the way up here from Hampton again for the second time in just a few days. You know, the debates have been well publicized. It's great to see my fellow Mason City citizens that have stepped up to run for office. I think that's great. I'm glad they took the time to come out here tonight and prove that they want to face a large crowd. The people of Mason City are here. They're eager to hear from people running for office. I think this shows who cared enough to, you know, come tonight and say answer your questions, so that's great. My name's Matt Marquardt. I'm from Mason City, obviously, been here since 1977. My grandma's here, my son, Chris, my mom and dad, my family, people I care deeply about, despite what other people said in the media, but they're here to support me, and see a lot of other great Fourth Ward people here tonight, supporters. That's great to see you all back, and new faces too, so that's fantastic. Why am I running? Well, that's a great question. I would say that there's a lot of truth that's not coming out at the council meetings. I've attended many meetings over the last 3.5 years, and I've liked some of the things I've seen. There's a lot of things that I didn't like. So I think that with my experience running a small business, working in the media for a number of years, 2 different media outlets, just my life experience, raising a son by myself, I think that I have what it takes to lead the Fourth Ward and do a good job and bring the people back in, give them a voice, work hard for them, be responsive to their problems, their needs, their concerns. So I want to work hard for Ward 4, and I want to make sure that the people are getting the representation they need. So I'm looking forward to the questions tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Marks. Okay, first question, and again, this is posed to all candidates, so as we move down the table here, if anybody needs the question repeated, just let me know. We'll start down at the end with Mrs. Girk. The question is, should a budget shortfall exist, an example of $2 million, what budget item or items would you reduce in dollar amount or remove, and why? Also, there's a second part here. Also, what budget item requests should receive 100% funding? Prioritize, the examples, 5 items or departments, but you get the gist of the question. So,
I would think that we would want to remain strong on public safety, so I'm not saying that they couldn't have any cuts, but I would think that we would want to keep the funding and as high as possible on that issue. I would say that there are some discretionary items that we could, for example, we are right now committed to $15,000 a year for these sculptures. And while that's all a fine project, if we don't have money for human rights, etc., I believe that's something that could be done privately. I also think that the issue of the dog park, we originally were told that that was going to be funded privately, and yet we appropriated $40,000 for that, and we had somebody seriously injured, which will take a lot on health insurance and workman's comp. I think we need to keep, when people say they're going to raise the money privately, we need to keep to that. I think we just need to be as lean as possible and to take a look at everything. I work for the National Institute of Education in planning, budget, and program analysis. And one of the things that we don't do here is we don't take a look to see if the money that we have appropriated has actually accomplished the objectives. And so I think we need to take a look at, has the money been wisely spent that we've appropriated? And is there a way that we can do better?
okay, thank you. Move down the table to Ms. Draper.
First thing I would not cut is fire, police, what we need for our safety. I think they're lean enough. I think they would tell you that they're running short. This morning I had a conversation, and if a large fire comes out, they don't have the staff to put all 3 trucks out, only 2 trucks and 1 person for the ambulance. I don't think we need to cut there at all. I think if we had to cut $2 million, we should have to look at special projects. However, I don't think we would need to cut $2 million if we could maximize our attributes, what we have here in Mason City, start bringing industry in, being supportive of what is here. But let's look out by the Avenue of the Saints, as I've said before. Look at other companies, what do we need to do to market to get them there? We might not have to look at that issue then. But we absolutely would not want to cut anywhere for public safety. Nowhere at all.
Thank you, Ms. Draper. Mr. Foster.
Yes, I agree with both the ladies. I wouldn't cut fire or police, but what I would do, I would ask, and I would expect that the finance director would notify us before we got to that point. Kevin Jacobson is one heck of a guy. He's won several awards in his job over the years. And when I was on the council, I would always say to some of the other members, let him handle stuff. Let him bring us the budget. If there's any problems out there, let him handle it and then bring it to us for our approval or disapproval. So basically that's what I do. You go to the person that's in charge of that. And I don't think that Mr. Jacobson is going to let us to a point we're in the hole, because he has, in the past, told several council members to stay out of the reserves, because the reserves are rainy day fund, and they don't want to listen. So to answer your question, I would talk to Mr. Jacobson and have him forewarn us if there's any problems coming up, and then go from there.
That's an extreme hypothetical question, but if we ever get to that point where we're in trouble, $2 million in debt for the economy, you might want to just shut the lights off and take off. Now, there are some cities in the United States that that's happened to. It's not going to happen here because we got an excellent staff. We've received finance awards for the last 17 straight years, which means a lot that you've got good overseers of the fiduciary responsibility of the city. With that said, we have a budget of $65 million, 51 of it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councilman Kuhn, $65 million budget, $51 million debt, and 10 of it capital improvement. The worst budget season that I saw involved in 12 years at the table was $345,000. We hammered it out in one evening where we asked over a dozen departments to cut 5 to 6%. We didn't lay anybody off. We raised some fees, that's building permits and other things, until we leveled it off and we created a budget. This previous council, this year, brags about 2 years in a row of budgeting the levy and not raising your taxes. No, funny money. We have 28 funds in the city that we can draw down from or from that we grow. 28 different funds. I doubt if any of the council members that are sitting on the table this year know that. What they did was to budget this year. They took tort liability and fire and police funds, took them and balanced the budget so they could have an election year to be able to tell you we did not raise your taxes. Wait till next year. You can't continue to do that and draw down. I believe the finance director and others in the know were against that, but it's a political decision. So that's how they did that. That's not being fiduciary responsibility. It's no different than you with the two funds that you have at home, your checking account and your savings account and your 401ks or your pension, and stealing that to buy a new car or to make ends meet or to get out from under a high interest rate credit card. No, if I sit at the table, we'll have fiduciary responsibility like we always have, and what we did for 12 years, we did a lot of good things. This council is accused of playing small ball, which I think they have. They've played with the funny money, and it's not right, just to make it look good for their own personal political resumes. There's one or two of those members in that council that have, and they want to go further, that want to get to the state house, the legislature, and maybe even higher up. It's not right or fair to build their resume on the backs of our departments. Never would we cut the 5 essentials: fire, police, water, sewer, infrastructure. That's why you pay your taxes. Everything else beyond that has been what's going on. We're funding Main Street, we're building, your money's going to use all types of things. And that's a discussion that needs to be held and needs to be done. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Mr. Simmons?
Going off of what Mr. Foster said, my question would be is how we got to that shortfall. There's plenty of oversight. Most programs are 100,000, 125 for the Human Rights Commission, knocked down to 15, community kitchen, stuff like that. I wouldn't cut any of that short. I'd make sure that everything was taken care of as far as fiscal matters go, so that we wouldn't come to any sort of shortfalls. Obviously, I wouldn't cut the police, I wouldn't cut the community kitchens, water, sewage, infrastructure, or anything really, because I'd make sure that nothing like that ever happened.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Finally, Mr. Markman.
Well, I agree with several of my colleagues here. That's a hypothetical. Nobody wants to face a $2 million budget shortfall. But what I would say is maybe this council and mayor went down the wrong path here from what I've seen attending meetings over 3.5 years. Our EDC, what are they really delivering for us for $105,000 every year? $9.50 jobs, that's not enough return on investment, so I'm not satisfied there. Trips to Washington, D.C. year after year after year for what? Come on, that's a waste of money. I think there's better ways to meet our elected representatives in Washington. They come through Mason City all the time. They can pop into City Hall, we buy them a cup of coffee and a donut, sit down and meet with them and tell them what we need here in Mason City. And we don't need to go out there for that. So we're not lobbyists, we're elected officials. Secondly, blue zones. Decorah dumped it. What are we doing here? Is it really going to work out? Let's put that under the same microscope that our sanitation department was put under. Let's really get down to the nuts and bolts and see if this stuff really works. Remodeling offices, maybe that can get put off. We just remodeled, spent tens of thousands of dollars, 60, 70,000 on our city hall. Was that really necessary? So that, well, I won't say why I think it was done, but I don't think it was perhaps necessary. What about the office of our city administrator, $144,000 a year? I mean, really, that's pretty high pay for what is our return on investment there? So let's get that microscope out if we get in that kind of trouble, and really take a good hard look at what we're doing, and maybe we can realign that budget if we should get in that predicament. I certainly hope we never see $2 million. I don't know where that number came from, but doesn't sound good. Of course, to finish here, I would never want to cut essential services, infrastructure. Some of those projects might have to get put off. You know, you got to stay with, you can only spend what you have. You don't want to spend what you don't have. So we would never want to go down that road. But police, fire, no. Sounds like they're a little understaffed as it is. You know, it's no secret we don't have a perceived crime problem in Mason City. We have a real crime problem, despite what our elected leaders want you to believe through their media sitting back in the back of the room. So if we are truthful with our own constituents, we can start, getting to the root of the problems in Mason City instead of, sugarcoating everything. So that's enough.
Okay. Next question, we'll start at the end of the table again with Ms. Skirk. And again, I'll just randomly go through the questions similar to what we did the other day. Question is, would you participate in a plan or develop a plan to clean up and develop the Southport and Sears shopping center? And would that be a good location for the new event center?
Obviously, I think that there could be a better way of marketing. That used to be, I grew up on 19th Street Southeast, that used to be a vibrant shopping center. When Target left and Hobby Lobby, and that we have quite a few empty buildings there. I, however, would not be in favor of that for an event center right now. I believe that the present administration spent a great deal of time and effort and money, and although they said it would be a win-win situation, the administrator put it on hold. I think looking at Osage, it's a wonderful thing to have in the community. It's a want, it's not a need. And I just don't think in these economic times that it can be self-sustaining at this point. I think it's fine to look at it for the future down the road, but Osage had a tremendous amount of money given, and yet they're having extreme fiscal problems making it work. It's a wonderful amenity for the community, but it has to be fiscally prudent.
Okay. Thank you very much. Question from, directed to Ms. Draper. Do you feel we can do a better job? Do you feel we can do better on attracting better paying jobs? Can we try to recruit Tim Fox from Charles City?
Yes. I believe that Tim Fox does an excellent job in Charles City by the businesses that they have attracted there. Also by utilizing the Avenue of the Saints. So when you drive out that way and look over, Charles City looks like it's a huge and thriving city. They've built out towards that. Our first exit off the avenue there on 65 is 3 miles until you hit a restaurant or until you hit a gas station. So we're not utilizing that correctly. So yeah, I do think we could do better. I want to support who we have and what they're doing. I do think, though, that we need to be fiscally responsible with our dollars. And because of my financial background, when County Social Services gives out a what would be called a grant, they have to itemize how they're going to spend that money to me, to the penny, or the check is not signed. I won't send it. I have to know how it's going to be spent. So if it is a certain amount of dollars that wants to be going, it needs to be itemized out. How is it going to be spent? So we know the money that we're giving of our taxpayers is spent accordingly. Would we love to have Tim Fox or someone like him? Absolutely. Whatever his philosophies are, his business formulas, soft skills, hard skills, yes, we'd absolutely like that, so we can start attracting those businesses to Mason City. But I think he's probably happy in Charles City, so I don't think he's coming here.
Thank you, Ms. Draper. The next question is directed to Mr. Foster. What do you think of the disbanding of the Human Rights Commission? Can it be reinstated with a new council?
Well, I think I mentioned earlier what I thought about it. The Human Rights Commission has been there for over 40 years, probably longer than some of these folks have been on earth there on that council. And I know longer than some of these guys have been in town. And to come in right in on a white horse saying I'm going to get rid of the Human Rights Department because one of my contributors doesn't like what they're doing, but doing their job, I think that's horrendous. And as far as getting rid of the human rights officer, who's going to protect the people? Who's going to protect their jobs and for age and sex and discriminations? There's not a lot of racial discrimination cases here, so we can't put that on there. Who's going to protect the seniors when they're trying to get a job or keep a job and they want to get rid of them? What I think about it is nothing. I think that group that did that, like I said before, I understand there's some rumble in Des Moines about disbanding theirs or cutting them back down in Des Moines. So who's going to take care of the citizens of Iowa, in Mason City and of Iowa? Thank you.
This one's directed toward Mr. Weaver. Question is, do you have any ideas for our downtown that will appeal to the younger generation?
Well, yes, I do. Yes, I do. One of my, as I said at the last debate, there's about 4 task forces that I'm going to create with the citizens in the community. And one of those is going to be a task force of how do we attract and keep our young people in Mason City. It's a huge issue. We have an aging population. We have to find a way to make Mason City fun again. And for those of you that have lived here your whole life like I did, you know at one time Mason City was extremely fun. That's part of the division I'm talking to you about. No offense to anybody, but the things they're doing right now, there's an air of elitism, and you're not welcomed. I mean, how many of you go to the McNider party once a year? Raise your hands. At the museum. Maybe that'll help you. 2 hands, 3 hands. That's troubling. We have to be welcoming. That's what I'm talking about, the division. I would work closely with the Visit Mason City group and talk about creating some different things, some fun things in the community. One of them will be this. I have many facets of who I am, and I like that. I got a lot of diversity in it. That's the one thing I'm running on is democracy, diversity, and dedication. For the young people, we need to talk and bring NIAC into it. There's 300 kids that live out in that dormitory. It's one of the biggest mistakes we made in our history was to put that in a cornfield. It should have been down. Talk about synergy. Ever since we built the mall over 65, our federal, the only city in Iowa on 65, look south, we cut the artery off. We're dizzy. We've been struggling to bring back Main Street ever since, spending millions. What I would specifically do is sit down, make a task force of young people, bring them in, welcome them in, make them a part of our community, and let's talk about things. Now, I've already heard there's some interest in a art car week. That's where the different teams in the community of young people donated. I heard one car dealer said he would donate 2 cars, 2 $500 cars to the cause. They run, they're safe. and they can dress them up. They can make them however they want, create an art car parade, a whole week long of festivities for the young people. 2, one of the task force that I'll create will be a bicycle. Listen, you guys all know that you're seeing more and more bicycles out there in the community. We need to get on top of that and make Mason City bicycle friendly. We need to protect ourselves, not just on the bikes, but in our automobiles. We got to start doing that study, really push it forward. Several years ago, I said, wouldn't it be fun to have a path to replace the one at Clear Lake? That's gotten kind of old and boring, to be honest with you, and it's dangerous. Let's follow the path along Willow Creek that comes out of Clear Lake. As you know, Willow Creek starts at Clear Lake and comes to Mason City. A path along that would be outstanding. Now, those are just 2 ideas of what I would do to bring fun in the community. On a more serious note, those task force will also talk about what kind of jobs we need to have here for them. I think the phrase today used by Representative Sharon Steckman, because this always gets everybody's ire up if you're a member of the cultural elite, the jobs we create in this community need to be family-friendly wages. Now that's the safe way of saying that now. Matt Marquardt's right. When anybody who applauds a 9-hour, $1 job with a development agreement and years of tax abatement, that's wrong. So I will do those things. I will work hard to bring, those are just some, I only have 2 minutes to tell you. I've got all kinds of plans. And I'm going to bring the one candidate only in this town, and the incumbents, that can bring this community together, and we'll do some good stuff. We're going to put a smile back on your faces. We're going to let you be proud of being a Mason Cityan. Thank you.
Quinn, this question is for you. How do you feel about taking money out of the firemen and police retirement fund to balance the budget?
I think that's a terrible idea. Firemen and policemen, they work their lives for that retirement fund. It was mentioned earlier that that's how they kind of counteracted the deficit with the tax levies on properties by taking money out of it. I think it's ridiculous. They work their lives for that money, and they deserve it.
Next question is directed to Mr. Marquardt. What is a blue zone, and how much is it costing the taxpayers?
Well, if I look around the room, I don't know if anybody knows the answer to that question. I made a few notes here about my blue zone. Angie Dieterman, she's kind of running that show over there. She's a 2-year contract. She's a former volunteer coordinator. She's got another, I think she's got another year left. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alex. By the way, glad to see you here. I offered the olive branch to you a year ago. We shook hands. I just want to let you know I'm ready to work with you again, my friend. We can do good things with Mason City together. But I just want to tell the audience that we don't know how much the blue zone's costing, because the only information we get is from Brent Trout and Eric Bookmeyer, and comes through Mr. Skipper up back there. And you know, can you believe all that or not? That's up for debate. So if you go by what you're told, yeah, the Mercy's covering most of that. I'm not so sure. I reported a year ago that the blue zone was 76.92% over budget a year ago in 2012. If they've rectified that in the last year, that would be news to me. I would say that I don't know how much longevity the blue zone has. It's been scrapped in Decorah. Our mayor, who's championing the blue zone, is from Decorah. He went to school there, so his own people that taught him right and wrong and how to get through life as an adult are already giving up on that project. So I wish it the best. I want to get to know more of it after I'm elected and put that under the microscope and see if it's going to be a worthwhile endeavor for the people of Mason City. I don't know. Can you legislate health? Can you tell children they can't have a cupcake at their birthday party at school? Is that right? Is that what America's about? Telling kids they can't have a cupcake? Sounds wrong to me. So I'm not. That's part of the blue zone. The school said no more cupcakes at school. Not making this up. So By the way, where is the Cerro Gordo County Board of Health with our blue zone? How can you set healthy lifestyles and standards and you don't even bring in your county Board of Health? Doesn't really make sense, does it, folks? So when you stop and start scratching your head, slowing down and thinking about things and move away all the propaganda and other information that's you're bombarded with over the radio and the newspaper and start thinking about things, which the people in Mason City are plenty smart enough to figure this stuff out. I'm finding that out as I walk the 4th Ward and meet with the good people of the 4th Ward. So I don't know if I'm answering your question exactly, Sean. Maybe I should look at you a little bit more, but
Not my question.
yeah. So what is a blue zone? I'm still not exactly sure what it is, so that's enough.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next, we'll move back to Ms. Girk. Question is, what solution would you have to allow more public interaction with the council, i.e. items not on agenda or response to questions about agenda items?
I think that we need to move the back to the way we used to have it. Instead of some people, it's not convenient for their work schedule, etc., to stay through the whole meetings. And I also think that the public, if they have questions, that they have a right to ask their elected representatives. There's no other way they're going to get answers. And so I think we need to relax some of the controls. Obviously, I don't think maybe somebody gets to go off for 20 minutes on a tirade, but I think it's important that when serious things are being discussed, that people get their questions answered. This business that you just have a listening post at the end and nobody ever gets back to you on anything, I don't think is an appropriate, effective representation in a democracy.
Thank you. Ms. Draper, this question was directed directly at you, but you may have touched on it in your intro. You can feel free to expound on that, I guess, if you want. The question is, what qualities do you bring to the City Council?
I think my biggest attribute is my financial background. I also think to be an elected official, you need to have people skills. You need to be able to develop relationships and yet have boundaries. And the job that I have, from 8 to 4:30, sometimes longer, I have to be able to have relationships with providers, with family members actually. It's very hard when somebody sits across your desk and they do need help, but they just don't qualify for the funding. Instead of just saying no, I know that there's other avenues out there to give them that, instead of just saying no and sending them on their way. There's other avenues. But you have to be able to have those boundaries to say, just because I like your project, or you're my friend, if it doesn't qualify for the funding and it's not fiscally responsible, you have to be able to say no, not be upset about it. It's just doing your job, because you have to take care of more people than just your friendship. You have to take care of the community. So I think I have that for experience. I also think that in a council member room for board meetings, I sit with a table of 21 board members monthly, and sometimes more than that. 21 people sit at that table with providers in the community. They get to ask questions because it affects their bottom line of what that board is going to do. It's very, very politically polarized when you're at a county level. However, they are able to have discussions, they are able to disagree with each other, they are able to vote, and yet they're able to maintain professionalism, and emails go back and forth that are very cordial about decision and making process. And so I think I have that the last 4 years of the experience of being in a boardroom, of how it is supposed to be, for the other people looking out, and for you to be able to look in and feel part of that conversation. I do think that we need to be able to do that with our community. I think that I can lead with vision and purpose. I think that building relationship with the people that are sitting at the table as well, and yet maintaining boundaries. Being able to work with them, however, if an idea comes up and I don't feel it's fiscally responsible, that I'm able to say, I don't think I like this, and these are the reasons why. And yet knowing the next time we meet up, we'll be able to have a conversation. The next time I might agree and vote yes. I think that those are very important qualities in leading and having direction and vision for the city.
Okay, thank you very much.
Just a minor interruption, just a reminder, there's refreshments, coffee, water over here, the restrooms over there, and I need to see Jim Brown in the back of the room, if you would, please.
Sounds like trouble to me. Okay, let's see here. Next, for Mr. Foster, how will you help this?
Hear what they've got to say. When I was on the council, I used to have folks calling me at 11, 12 o'clock, Saturday, Sunday, whatever. And I'd be very congenial with them. I say, okay, fine. Let me have your phone number and I'll call you first thing Monday morning. Or I'll come by your house. I learned that from Don Nelson. And that's the way you have to approach things. You can't, when people call you, like I called Mr. Tornquist at one time, I disagreed with him on an issue, he hung up on me. Which didn't surprise me a bit. I'm surprised he answered the phone when he saw my name on the caller ID. But you have to be able to communicate with the community, respect them, number one, and give them their dues, like I said, because they pay your paychecks. You can't cut meetings short because you're going to miss the kickoff or happy hours. So you've got to go ahead and tell the folks where you're coming from and let them speak. And if they want to talk, let them talk. And you know, the 4 years I was there, I didn't find very many disrespectful people that came up to the microphone to disrespect the council. They were a little angry a lot of times, but disrespectful, no. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question here is directed towards Mr. Weaver, and it's a two-parter, so stay tuned here. It says, one, where do you see Mason City in 4 years, and what can you do differently than last time you were on the council, not to, as this person puts it, grandstand and argue every remark? Will you, as mayor, not have Mason City Council looked at like a laughingstock?
You know,
again, not my question.
Sean, that's a very good question. That's a question I need to address here tonight, and I'm more than happy to do it. That's the one complaint I hear about Max Weaver, and I've heard it for years. Too much Max, too much passion. What are you going to do about getting too excited at the council meetings? That's what you don't like about me. I understand that. I am full of passion. I probably belong with some other group that is not affiliated with politics to harness that great passion and work for causes, which I have done a little bit of. And found out I was too much for them too. No, that's the one concern that you have, that I know that you have, and I want to put it to rest tonight. What you have in your mayor right now, Eric Bookmeyer, is too much Rupert Murdoch. Go ahead and Google Rupert Murdoch and you'll see what you have for a mayor. I'm going to bring more Andy Taylor from Mayberry with me as the mayor. Now, how am I going to do that? I'm going to do that and be the best darn mayor you've ever elected or had. I'm going to do that by taking, you need to remember something. I'm running for the position of mayor of your community, the top ambassador, the leader. I'm looking forward to that. I won't be there as a council member anymore trying to convince my colleagues, 4 or 5 other colleagues, to see it over the Mercy issue. No, there's a better way. We can do this. We can save their houses and grow Mercy at the same time. Let's look at alternatives. Nobody did that better than me. Nobody researched stuff like that better than me. So the frustration showed, I don't have that. That's not what I'm running for. I get to be your best ambassador, and I'm going to do that. And how I'm going to do that? I'm going to do that by taking, I've worked with, you got to remember, over 30 years in the political arena. Nobody even compares to that. The last 2 years, I have taken off. But if you read the writings and hear the news stories, you'd think I was there yesterday at the council meetings. I stayed away for 2 years out of respect. That last election stung, with only 26% of you voting. 26%. Thousands, 15,000, 16,000 people in Mason City stayed home. I was hurt. I said, you know what, maybe it is too much, Max. I want to reevaluate myself, and I did. And you know what? I was better for it. There's times when I got called by many of you to show up. We need your help. We need a spokesperson. I stayed away being respectful. So you found out I can do it, and I can be very respectful, and I did it. No, what I'm going to do to be the best darn mayor is this. I worked with 7 or 8 mayors in the community, in the city over the years, and I'm going to take pieces of 3 mayors. I'll start with Roger Bang. Roger Bang was the most friendliest mayor we've ever had. He had a handshake and greeted you like you were somebody and that you belonged there and that he wanted you there. I never heard that man talk ill of anyone. Nobody. He would never blog. I'm going to use that. 2, Dr. Romans, Mayor Romans. Some of his council meetings went to 10, 11 at night. And the reason was he let people speak. He let you feel that this was your government. And he brought cookies and coffee with him and welcomed you. I saw that firsthand, and he was gracious to let me speak at that microphone dozens and dozens of times. When I left 2 years ago, we had an average of 35 to 40 citizens of Mesa City at those council meetings. Again, Councilman Kuhn, correct me if I'm wrong, you have 2 citizens on average showing up now. The room is a sea of chairs. Nobody's coming. Nobody's watching the meetings. Eric Bookmeyer said in 2009 at Weaver, when we get done with the council as mayor, it'll be as boring as watching paint dry. You've achieved that. You've done that. No, I'm going to welcome everybody back like Mr. Romans did, and we're going to have people. That room will be filled up in January, the first meeting, and stay filled up, because I'm going to engage you. Thirdly, Mayor Ken Q, aligned with my equality. Rough as he was, push Southbridge through. He, whether you were an employee or a citizen of Mesa City, he let you, if you had a concern or a question, he got you that answer. He saw to it that you had somebody that figured out with your neighborhood concern. He did it better than anybody. I'm going to take those 3 things, along with being the ambassador. I'm a fun guy. I'm a likable guy. I got that one glitch, too much passion, too much fire. We'll tone that down, and we'll be the best darn mayor the city's ever had. Thank you.
Mr. Simmons, question is, what type of industry would you bring to this town? How come the casino was not built here in our county? And the comment is, it would have brought great capital. Your comments?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons that the casino didn't come to town. Certain people didn't want it here in town or in the county, so they made the decisions to not allow it to be here. I agree with the sentiment. It would have brought a ton of good jobs here to Mason City. It would have brought in a lot of tax revenue, and a lot of other great things. I think there's a stigma attached to, supporting the casino and saying that it's a good idea, but I think it's a great idea. I've talked about in the past, I fully support there being a casino here in the Mason City area, whether it's downtown or, on the outskirts.
Max.
But to wrap it up, I think it's a great idea. I'm fully in support of a casino. If we were to bring it downtown, I've read stories about JCPenney nationally. It might be going down the tubes. So if JCPenney's goes, I think it'd be a great location to put a casino there. Just a little small guy. Might go well with that Hilton that they're supposed to build across the street from it. But I think it's a good idea. I think it's that we should consider all industries because each and every industry is going to bring different, jobs, pay scales, and not only that, consumers and travelers. So I think it's very important that we take everything seriously in those regards and try and bring whatever we can here to Mason City, whether it's $9 an hour jobs or 20-hour jobs, but I'm not going to brag about 9-hour an hour jobs. But thank you.
Mr. Simmons? Next question is for Mr. Markworth. Can you describe tax increment financing and how the city should use it?
Well, thanks for the most technical question. Jeez.
I'm not sure that I could describe tax increment.
TIF financing, I can tell you that right now we're gonna give a gift of TIF financing to the Marshall's department store that's coming. Basically, I made a few notes here. I think I've got a little something here about TIF. Just to educate you, here's what my little definition I wrote down is: a TIF freezes the property taxes on a site at pre-development levels and diverts the increase in taxes or the increment into a fund used by the city. Sometimes the increment goes to a developer of a project in the TIF area, or the city might use it for infrastructure work. What I could tell you, just in my little preparation for this, North Iowa Growth, which is owns the land under the Marshall's building, is going to receive a TIF of $480,000 over 7 years. This bothers me because we've already got established retailers in Mason City that are paying property taxes. Why are we giving Marshalls a gift to come in here and spread around the limited amount of retail dollars that we have? It's just another big box store. They're gonna have $8 an hour jobs, typically, in my opinion, $8, $9, $10 an hour jobs in there, just to sell more, maybe not the best quality goods off of their shelves that you can get anywhere else in the area. Here's a little something I do know about those big box stores. I talked to Chief Lashbrook this week, and he said in the last year we've had 74 calls to Kohl's. Okay? Marshall's is just going to be exactly like Kohl's. They sell the same types of goods off of their shelves. That's another 74 store. They could have 75 calls a year out there. They're using our infrastructure. They're using our police and fire. They're paying way less taxes. And I don't think that's right to supplement them to come in here and give them a gift. Look, if Marshall's wants to come to Mason City, hey, great, come to Mason City, but all these handouts for an outfit for a retail outlet like Marshall's, they're not making anything. They're not hiring people at good family sustaining wages. I don't know how I can get behind something like that. I can also tell you, as far as TIF goes, that our legislators in Des Moines, Alex probably knows this since he follows us so close, they're looking at TIF right now and asking themselves, who's overseeing this? Is this really working out for the best interest of the communities? And I do know it affects the schools, it affects the county, budgets. So that's another one I'd like to look at more closely, but I'll stop there. That's enough.
At this point, I want to take the opportunity. We do have some questions that were asked for individuals who are not in attendance, and as I mentioned on Saturday at the forum there, I think it's important that even though the individuals are not here, that these questions be heard for public benefit. This one is for Mayor Bookmeyer. Why did you think it was a good idea to put statues downtown? Another one from Mr. Bookmeyer. You say you listen to citizens at council meetings, so why was a woman escorted from the podium by a Mason City police officer when she was asking about an agenda item? This is to all of those currently in office. If you could go back and undo something you have done in office, what would it be? And this one's just more of a comment, and that is, what kind of an election is this when the incumbents won't debate democracy? So that's that. I wanted to get those out of the way. And we'll start back at the end of the table with Ms. Girk. How will you bring decorum to council meetings?
I think you set an example. I also think that you are welcoming to people as they come. I think you mix in the crowd. You make yourself accessible to the public. and indicate to them that you're interested in their concerns, that you're going to get back to them with their questions. And I think, you know, you treat everybody the same way, with respect and dignity.
Mic turn back on that. Okay. Let's see here. We'll do this one. Ms. Draper, what can we do to make the town grow like Ankeny? Second part of that question. Why do we have nepotism rule that makes some of our youth have to leave for jobs?
Say that, can you say the last second part again?
Why do we have nepotism rule that makes some of our youth have to leave for jobs?
Can I answer the second one first?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's your time. You do whatever with it you want.
The nepotism for family members being able to work in the same area, such as police or fire, a lot of that is through a family. It's like joining the Army or the Marines. It's one of their things. All across the United States, when you look at the fire departments and police department, it's a father, it's a grandfather, it's a son. Lots of that happens. I don't know why Mason City does not allow that. I know they have leniency in their nepotism, 6 months not working under the same, but I do believe that that could be looked at. We could look at that differently if they want some standardized rules there. But I think if it's in their family, most people on their application, when they put that down, my dad, my grandfather were firefighters, they get points for that. I don't know why we don't allow that to happen and why it's looked down upon that they shouldn't be in the same department. They're usually supervised by somebody else, and, you know, their uncle's not their supervisor, whatever. It's worked in other places. I don't know why that could not work here. How we could grow like Ankeny.
That's quite a target.
I do believe we need to be positive with our attributes of what we do have. I do believe we need to market them. I do think that has been happening. I do think that our city council has done some good things that are currently there. Many things I don't agree with, that's why I'm running. However, to say that everything they've done is negative, I don't feel that's accurate. I'm a numbers person. If you call me and somebody likes something or they don't like something, I'm not gonna sit there and say everyone said. I'm going to tell you 10 people called, 8 people agreed with this, 2 people did not. That's probably why I like finances. It's very cut and dry and easy. So to say that they did not do everything well, I think is not fair to them. However, to grow like Ankeny, we're gonna have to get some different philosophies. We're gonna have to think outside the box. We're gonna have to draw things in. We're gonna have to be welcoming. We don't want an attitude of negativity. We don't want a culture of negativity. We need to appreciate what we do have. And I do think that treating everyone equal, doesn't matter what your last name is, what your income is, you're a citizen of this community, so you're important.
Mr. Foster, the question is, as someone who is recently unemployed, I am dismayed at the local available jobs. I'm afraid of the prospect that I might end up as a greeter at one of the big box stores. What will you do to attract quality, well-paying jobs to Mason City?
Well, as I said at the last meeting or debate, if you want to call it a debate, what should have been done in the past, and I mentioned this when I was on the council years ago, instead of leaving up job creations to a certain group of people, the city council should get a committee and put a leader there and go down to Des Moines and talk to Department of Economic Development folks, see what companies are interested in locating in Mason or in Iowa, and see if they can court these companies. Not just go out there and grab something, someone like Mr. Weaver was saying, and Mr. Marquardt was saying, just grab something out of the sky that's not going to pay anything. We could have had a lot of things in here in town. We didn't have any leadership at the time. I think that's what should go. I think there's with the internet, I'm not a computer person, but I'm pretty sure they can look around and find out who wants to do what. Look at Osage, Webster City, Charles City. I'm pretty sure they had committees that would go out and locate or talk to folks and locate these companies and bring them in there and go from there. That's what you need. I'm not knocking EDC, or they got a new name for it now, or the chamber, but they've got their own mindset on who they want to come in Mason City. And I grew up with that type of mindset, and it's done nothing but disrupt Mason City and separated us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is directed towards Mr. Weaver. What can you do to bring people together and here in Mason City and keep our kids in town?
I think I addressed that. I'm going to have several plans put in place in January where we address the culture, the young people, the needs, jobs, everything. We're going to open this up. You know what? I'm not going to appoint to our boards and commissions my closest friends and confidants. If you look at that North Iowa Growth Partnership and the 17 to 20 people that are on there, if you go to their website, there's one woman. No ethnicity at all represented there. No one from labor. That's what I'm going to change. I'm going to work hard at doing that and be welcoming. That division is going to get closed up quick, and we're all going to have, I know there's good ideas out here. You guys have got them. Now I'm going to share one big idea. I'm going to stray a little bit. Here's an idea for you. And Alex, John Rowe, John Skipper, I want you to pay attention to this. This is how we're going to create jobs in Mason City. You ready? Because I'm outside the box kind of guy. Listen closely. You'll be hard-pressed to find fault. Here's what we have in Mason City. 3 railroads. The only 600 direct current electric railroad in Mason City. We have the Union Pacific, the old Chicago Northwestern, and we have the DM&E, the Canadian Pacific. The largest railroads in the country and in Canada. And the Iowa Traction Electric Railroad. That's a tourist draw right there if we did that. You think there's Frank Lloyd Wright lovers? Railroading is huge. Now, we buy. This is the investment I'm going to ask you to make if I'm elected mayor. I'll spearhead this. I'll lay my sword down like I promised you. I'll work within the structure that's in place with the North Iowa Growth Partnership, Clear Lake, the county. I know all the personalities. And we're going to work together creating jobs, the #1 issue in any community in this country. We're going to ask you to bond and buy the 3 entities, 300 to 500, that's right, Alex, 300 to 500 acres of land next to the landfill of North Iowa, where we're going to capitalize on the landfill. We're going to cut costs for waste product of the intermodal business district we're going to build there. We're going to tap into methane gas. We have a generation plant at Emory there that runs at 15% right there, right across the avenue next to that land. We have one of the largest gas pipelines, Great Plains Natural Gas, coming through it. We don't have to bring it in from Waverly or Charles City, or like Mercy said, we can't have a pipe coming in, from way. It's all right there, the infrastructure. We have an airport 1 mile away. We're going to build an intermodal with the railroads in there. We're going to use the methane. We're going to use that generation plant. We're going to be one of a kind in the United States of America business park intermodal transportation. And we're going to attract a flurry of distribution and other jobs from the Twin Cities. Because as you notice up there, they're building out to Lakeville, Burnsville. The land around the airport is huge, expensive. We're an hour and a half away. We can fly, rail, ship. Local ownership from Lakeville, Minnesota owns the Iowa Traction Railroad. He has contacts up there. This is outside the box thinking, Alan. Mr. Kuhn, Councilman Kuhn, you're shaking. You agreeing with me? You can have it then. You take it to the council. You can have it. We're going to build that business park, and we're going to fill it up, and we're going to create thousands of jobs right there. I'm excited to be your next leader. I'm excited to be your next best darn mayor this town's ever had. I'm excited to bring you all in. And my task force and committees and commission appointees are going to be people who have either an interest or understand the issues. Not friends to go joke and laugh somewhere else later on that evening and look what we did, look what we shut down, look how we control. That division is going to come close big time. And that intermodal business park concept that I just gave you using those railroads, that airport, that natural gas, that generation plant and methane, and cut their fees. If you want to tack TIF part of that and say, look, there's no dumping charge for the companies that come there, you'll save thousands and thousands of dollars. And we're going to promote green the whole time. Now there's a concept for you from this candidate, and I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Question for Mr. Simmons. Thoughts and ideas to lower taxes? Sorry for the softball.
Yeah, you're gonna ask me that after.
Go ahead, buddy, I'll help you. What do you need? All about making a better community. The smarter you get, the better we get, okay?
That's right.
That's right.
Mr. Simmons' question, Mr. Reed.
Knowledge is power. Ideas for lowering taxes, would be increasing tax revenue would be the best idea that I could come up with. That would be bringing in more economic value, tourist dollars, money taxes from businesses, property taxes, things like that. The more revenue that's coming in, the lower we can make our taxes. So my idea for that would be for us to grow. If we have sustainable positive growth, then we'll have more taxes basically, and we won't need to keep them as high. It's a tough question, but.
Thank you. Next question is directed toward Mr. Markwart. It is said that there is a hostile work environment at City Hall. What do you know about this, and what can we do to solve the problem?
I know a few things about that. Yeah, I want to just, this is my time, so I'm just going to say this council and mayor already did it. They already figured out how to lower your taxes by sending Dana Nauman around the city assessor to come around and on a $1 million project to reassess all of our residential and commercial property taxes. So we're all going to get nailed when she comes around with her team and they say, okay, Quinn, you got a $30,000 house you bought 10 years ago. Guess what? It's worth $60 now, and you're going to pay taxes on that. They're going to get you on that end without ever raising the levy. Good job, Alex. That was slick. Now, you asked me about, you got to ask me that question again because I got it going.
It is stated that there is a hostile work environment at City Hall. What do you know about this, and how do we solve that problem?
You mean 2 major OSHA violations in the last year is hostile? I mean, a city worker almost getting killed because there wasn't a proper supervision at a work site? That's not hostile, is it? Well, maybe it is. I can also say that 3.5 years ago when I just got started, I was brand new. I walking through the mall, I was just kind of getting to know people. I started my fledgling online news source, which is driving John Skipper crazy. And I was approached by a high-ranking City Hall employee who said that he's had it with the mayor popping in his office, barking orders at him. He's got a 3-ring binder. He's writing everything down that the mayor comes in and tells him to do. The mayor said, "Get on board, or else you're gone." That's not the kind of that's not a conducive to a productive work environment. I've worked in offices. I've worked in the toughest offices in town, the Globe Gazette. I worked there 6.5 years. I know something about working in an office. I can tell you that rank and file employees don't respond well to that kind of treatment. And I would certainly not condone our mayor popping into people's offices and giving them directives in that way. That's why we have a city administrator. That's why we have city code, which states that it's absolutely against the code for the council to do that. We need to revisit that code and make sure that the mayor is included in that as well. So I know a lot about our problems at City Hall with our hostile work environment. I also know that a current City Hall, a City Council person took it upon herself to go after the job of a longtime City Hall employee because he wouldn't play ball and prevent the construction of a garage in her neighborhood. So our City Hall was forced to hire outside legal representation to fight off that whole, to sort out that mess. So for the last 4 years, we've had some big problems at our City Hall, and I think with a new team, a fresh look, people that care about our workers, come in there and restore order.
I was saying that this note card, and I don't know if Chris Watts is available. He could probably answer this better than I could. But there's a Someone says they have an email from Scott Turnquist stating that he was not invited to the last forum, and they want to know, was he invited to this one? I can state personally that after I was invited to moderate this forum, I personally sent emails to each of the incumbents myself and tried to address that concern. Mr. Watts?
All the emails from all city incumbents I got through, I forget her name, at City Hall, Ms. Black, and they were all notified. I have copies on my computer.
Okay. All right, thank you. Yeah, and that's the email that I sent, that came before I was asked to moderate the one on Saturday, so I don't know what that's, I don't know how they were invited to that one. Yeah, yes. Okay.
The newspaper itself is the one invited.
Okay. Okay. I was just informed that the Globe was the notification for that forum. So, okay. Next question. We'll move to the end of the table again. Ms. Kirk, do you think we need more bars downtown or more activities for people? I think more activities is the general.
I'm not sure that more bars is the answer. I think that, as has been pointed out, Clear Lake does an excellent job of getting people downtown, especially on the weekends. And I think that we need to have more amenities and more things going on downtown, especially in the wintertime, since Clear Lake does such an excellent job in the summertime. Obviously, we need to have things that will keep, as has been stated, the young people who are graduating. It's such a shame that we lose so many of them. And so I think we need to, as Max has said, we need to include the young people in what they would like to have for amenities downtown.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ms. Draper, question would be, what role could the city play in making the fair better? I don't know if this person's trying to suck up to the moderator or what, but then it goes on to say, basically, the Hampton Fair is bigger and better all around. So, and the Franklin County Fair is the best around, I think. Yes, it is. But what can you do to be number 2, Ms. Draper?
I did have a conversation with Sue Armour, and she says that that's should be utilized more as great things out there at the North Iowa Fairgrounds. And with their visit Mason City, I believe for Mason City itself, it was $16.8 million, I want to say, the revenue that came in from our visitors. So what we can do out there, I mean, they have the horses, they have the ice arena. They don't have the ice arena anymore? Is that gone now? For hockey? So I think that looking at broader of what other kids like to do. They have the races now that go on. I actually participated in one in Boone, the Gladiator Challenge with my daughter. Looking at things like that, keeping young people around. We have colleges here, community colleges, Kaplan University, NIAC, and then Buena Vista. And so we do have a lot of young people. And so how do we grab them, keep them, have them be here? Well, yes, we need jobs, but we also need activities. They want to be busy. They want to be doing things. And we need to look at those things and what we do have that we can build on and utilize. And I believe that there's a lot of things that we could be doing out at our fair.
For Mr. Foster, it says the city of Mason City was recently a defendant in a lawsuit of discrimination, and a number of other suits are pending. What is your response to this? And that was directed right at your name on it.
My response is poor leadership. This should never have happened. I don't know exactly which cases you're talking about. I'm familiar with a few of them because my brother was involved with them before he was terminated, so to speak. But I think if they had had some leadership there, not only in the city administrator, in some of the other departments, that could take that without the taxpayers paying for this. Because they're paying money, when people go to court, that's not coming out of their pockets, it's coming out of taxpayers' pockets. Like I said, it should have been better leadership, should have been brought before the city council, whatever problems they had, to sit down with Mr. Trout or whoever to get the things resolved before it hit the newspaper or even got into court. Lack of leadership.
Thank you. Mr. Weaver, this question is addressed to you. It says, we live in the flood zone. The city has been mowing the yards on the east side of North Carolina Avenue, even behind the homes being torn down. Yet the west side of Carolina hasn't been touched. Thistles 6 feet high over the summer. What can be done to get this area cleaned up?
Well, that's actually a safety hazard. You're talking about the 600 block of North Maryland. The deer have taken home there. It's dangerous for anybody in a car, motorcycle or bicycle, even pedestrians. Well, you can't balance the budget, Councilman Kuhn, on the backs of attrition. You can't take a retirement and say, well, there's $40,000 we saved. You need to fill those positions because that's why people pay taxes. The reason that's not being mowed down there is either the city employees don't have time to do it, the priorities, they're shorthand. I understand from one of the department heads that they're down 11 individuals over the last 2 years, 3 years. That has to change. You can't do that and get the same things, the quality of life you expect. So I would certainly promote, that's part of my program of keeping those jobs full, public safety, keeping those that we don't have. That is a public safety issue, actually. And down by the sledding hill. And somebody's going to get hurt down there. And we need to keep those positions filled so that they can do their job. I want to go on to another thing I want to say to you. And I'm guaranteeing if we built the intermodal business park that I'm talking about, and I'll be glad to help you, instead of cutting down what Max Weaver has to offer, work with me. And I'll tell you what, we'll do great things for the citizens. That's my only motivation. I want my children to stay in Mason City as much as you want your children. I don't want to live through long-distance love and have a loved one of mine, a daughter or a son living in Phoenix or New York or moving away for a job and get to see them twice a year for the next 40 years. I don't want that. So here's what I want to say to you. When they bragged, John, Mr. Skipper, when your editorial board bragged about the 17 development agreements that have been done, let me read them to you. FedEx, they just moved FedEx from the viaduct out there into the EDC building. YH Torrance, they moved them from 15th Street right out of North 65. Metalcraft moved from downtown. They had their building up for sale for 5 years. Found a plan out to move them out behind Menards. Taco John's, a development agreement, Alex. Taco John's, that's minimum wage jobs. Harley Davidson, you gave them $100,000 in alley, infrastructure, and other things. My first phone call from Ron Dybill from Honda, a block away, told me what an on-level playing field that was. I felt bad about that. North Iowa Powerlifting, great guys out there, but so is Vasquez's building in the Y. Cargill, that's a big one. We did that when I was on shift. That's the big ball we played versus the small ball this regime is playing. WS Live, IC Systems, lost 100 jobs, and we brought back 34, and they applaud that at $9.35 an hour to start. Golden Grain, you did an amendment. I did the development agreement, and we do good work out there. You made an amendment. Soy Energy, the third owner out here on 106. We did the original deal in the big ball that I played at the table. We got things done. You made another amendment to that to see that they can open up, which is great. And they're going to be a good partner. I approve of Cargill, Golden Grain. They're going to be great partners. Mormon Clothiers, I voted no, 5-1 vote no. $200,000, really? Jeff Tierney Properties. If you look around town on Jeff Tierney Properties and go to the community, to the Saragordo County Property Search, you'll see a Bookmeyer sign and Solberg sign on every one of his properties. That's payback. I'm not sure what we're getting for that. Anchor Housing. It's a development you did that actually hurt our landlords and our housing in Mesa City. That's the big building going up behind Menards. We have a glut of 25% of housing units in the community. Totally. North Iowa Growth. That's what Matt Marquardt talked about. You're bringing the Marshalls into town out there. What did they need? We built enough out there at Indian Head that they have all the traffic, they have everything, but $450,000? And I'll make a point here, Arion. You don't even know what Arion is. I do. That's out on 15th Street. They make air fresheners. Martin Brower. There's a good development agreement done on my watch out there in the industrial park, our former industrial park. Now, here's my biggest issue. The biggest issue democracy has, other than apathy amongst its citizens, where thousands of you don't care, don't vote, they put you to sleep, is inflation. And when you give out development agreements, there's 3 more on the table coming from City Hall right now, you know that, small ball, just building political capital, bringing your friends in, taking care of your buddies. Well, I got buddies too, and I'm not going to take care of them. So inflation will eat you up after that money that you hand out in abate taxes. By the time you get real property taxes,
That's time, Matt.
you have lost it all. Thank you.
Next from Mr. Simmons. What are the ideas you have for improving city and council communication?
Another easy one. I think opening the public forum up is a great start. Changing things back to the way they were, making people feel they are part of our government rather than in the way of it. I think that that all the city council members should get to know each other. If I become mayor, I'm going to make a huge attempt to get to know everybody personally, on an inside and outside level, so that we understand each other, and know where we're coming from. I think it's important that there be open discussion of all ideas, that we consider the public's input on it, and take deep consideration into that.
Mr. Mark Ward, question is directed toward you, and it says, have you considered that the local option sales tax revenues from Marshalls, Walmart, Kohl's, etc. bring hundreds of thousands to the general fund?
Well, I don't know if I've ever sat down and thought about that, but it's obvious that when you spend money at Walmart, a piece of that 7% comes back into the city. I mean, so thanks for that. I appreciate it. But I guess I would answer that by saying, how many dollars do you think are coming into Mason City as it is? Every time we add a big box, do you really think that brings new shoppers to Mason City? From where? They're already coming here anyway. They're bringing the same. They don't make any more money just because you open a Marshalls. They're bringing the same pocketbook with the same 10, 20, and a 5 inside of it. They're just spreading it around. So I think that's kind of the question doesn't add up. Thanks.
This is another one we'll put to all of the candidates. It's a fairly quick answer. That first one I think we spent about a half an hour on, but this one's fairly quick. I think we can just go down the line. It's a 2-part question, but I think they're both yes or no. Question is, will you always be sure anything you pass lives by the Constitution and have a Pledge of Allegiance to the flag at every council meeting?
I'm a great student of the Constitution, so yes, I think everything needs to be square with the Constitution. And I would be quite amenable to having the Pledge of Allegiance at the council meetings.
Always go by the Constitution, that's what we're found on.
And the pledge?
If they wanted to do it, we would absolutely work.
Okay. Mr. Simmons?
I agree.
Okay.
When you take the oath of office, you swear to the Constitution of the state of Iowa. So you're making a promise between you and the citizens that you're going to uphold those laws. So that just goes without saying. And the second part of that, saying the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm fine with that. I did it all through school. I didn't turn out too bad. Maybe that's what gave me that passion. I didn't turn out too bad. serious, and I got the extra. There you go. I want to say one more thing, because we do have a time here. You know what? This is how I see myself, and I want you to see me too. This is kind of a goofy thing to say. I am the guy you want in the foxhole with you. And I'm not talking military. I'm just talking when you get in a bind. I've helped over 1,200 individuals and families in this community over 12 years on the council, and another dozens as a citizen activist. And I'm going to bring all that knowledge and experience, the experience that I have, let's don't waste it. I'm so afraid that we're going to have the typical 16,000 people not vote. And by us showing up at these last two debates, cared enough to show up, and more importantly, you cared enough to show up. Talk to your people, talk to your family and friends. Let's bring back this community to all of us. That's a pledge too. Thank
you. You may need to repeat that question for me. Will you make sure that everything you pass, if elected, is legal under the United States and Iowa Constitution, and would you say the Pledge of Allegiance at every meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. And Mr. Marshall.
I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I would definitely hope that our city staff is on the ball enough to bring us good development agreements and other issues, and we would hash that out over a number of readings so that we can fully digest what's at stake and have plenty of chances for input from the people of Mason City. Look, I'm not in any big hurry at 7 o'clock on Tuesday night to get home. I'll hang around as long as it takes to get things done the right way. I'm not a big believer in cutting out of there at 7:45 for whatever reason apparently the people that run this meetings right now like to do. But as far as the Pledge of Allegiance, I think we've gone way too far on the politically correct side of the spectrum. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. And I'm ready to bring back the Pledge of Allegiance, and I want to bring back the cupcakes for the kids at school too. So.
And if you answered the first part, I didn't catch it. The Constitution?
Yes. Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not a lawyer, but I would. That's one where I would kind of fall back on city staff and make sure that everything is legal and constitutional. I would certainly never back anything that wasn't constitutional. So, hope I got you there.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, you mentioned lawyers, and sometimes they're the biggest abusers.
Nobody wants
so
to talk about lawyers.
Okay. Okay. Starting over again down at the end of the table, Ms. Girk. The question says, what about building a Hilton hotel? Do they really think it will draw more people to Mason City? Your comments?
Judging from the remarks that were made by two of the people who manage both the Super 8 manager and the Holiday Express have indicated that the vacancy rate here in Mason City, that we're lucky if we average on a night 52%. So with that in mind, I question the validity of this project, and especially the fact that nobody else has been offered the project, offered a chance to bid on it, and where will we then have parking for, I think, it sounds great to say you're going to have a Hilton for that downtown, but will it be economically feasible, and what will that do to your other businesses in town? If they're only half full, what will another new hotel do to those figures? And I think we need to talk to the people who are in the hospitality industry and find out just how another hotel would affect them.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to Ms. Draper now, and the question again is referencing, I guess, comment time at meetings, asking if you could extend the time limit to 8 to 10 minutes at meetings and answer questions at the listening post.
Absolutely. I think a conversation takes two people. Usually in a conversation and communication, you have one person talking, one person listening, and then they give a response back. It's very intimidating to go to the podium, look at these people, ask questions, and they just look back at you. You're not sure if they got it, not sure if they heard what you were saying, not sure if they understood in the communication what you meant to get across. I absolutely think as an elected official, it would be my job and my duty. You ask me a question, I need to give you an answer. If I can't give you an answer right in that second, I can respond and say, I need time to research that, let me get a hold of someone, but we absolutely need to be talking to the community. That's who we're representing.
Mr. Foster, this question again is dealing with the loss of the casino again, and this question is dealing with, do you think the town would have been better off or worse off with the casino?
I think been, excuse me, when I was on the council, this issue came up, and I formed a small committee to see what was going on with it. In fact, the developer, I believe it's from Rockwell, picked me up and drove me around town to show me exactly what he was going to do. So I thought it was one heck of an idea. I think, well, look at Northwood. I mean, we've been having problems funding our schools, funding our, getting scholarships, helping the taxpayers lower their taxes. That would have been a big thing. I talked to Roger Bain here a couple of years ago. He said they had a $500,000 fund up there. They didn't know what the heck to do with it. And I said, well, send it down here. Yes, I think it would have been a great thing down here. But we had some of our colleagues didn't appreciate it. So along with some of the others, I think that's when it defeated. It's always hindsight, I guess. We probably should have got a committee, like Max likes to do, and I do too, and taken somebody down in Des Moines and said, okay, fine, what are our chances? What should we do? Instead of just letting maybe one or two people try to sell the whole town on this. Because we know that, like I said, I've been 60 years here. We know that folks, a lot of folks don't like gambling, but they like bingo. I'm Catholic, but we're the biggest gamblers in the world, I think. I do believe we should have gotten that, and I know we have a shot at it again. I know it's every so many years, but it'd be nice.
Thank you very much. That's not what happens to the collection plate during Mass, is it? Okay. For Mr. Weaver, what businesses or jobs do you envision to help grow Mason City?
I think I gave you one, the big one. It's the big one unheard of in this country, the Intermodal Business Park, that I'd be more than happy to share with anybody that wanted to listen and move that forward. It will create thousands of jobs, and the timing is right in this next 4 years. I hope I'm your leader to help you do that. To just follow up on a few things, the 4 strikeouts in Mason City's history. This is what my experience will tell you. The 4 biggest strikeouts in Mason City history, no particular order. Number 1, moving our junior college when the footprint was going to be on State Street to 4th Street to Willow Creek to Pennsylvania. It was going to be the campus. 5,500 people would be down in Mason City a day. Now we would have dress shops, shirt shops, more bars, more bakeries, more everything. We'd have synergy. The community would be alive and vibrant downtown. 2, the bingo parlor, the casino. Should have been ours in Saragordo County, should have been right. It should have been. The group that, the reason Leonard created a committee is because the Chamber of Commerce, the Ministerial Association, was worried about their plate during Sundays, the contributions, and the Economic Development Group did not step forward on that. Our mayor at the time put on a green coat to support Worth County, where he has a family farm up there. So we didn't get it. Big mistake. We could put our kids through 2 years at NIAC if we had that. And they have to share some of those dividends. I don't want to legislate that either. I mean, you can't. People are going to buy lottery tickets no matter what. The third thing, Southbridge Mall. When it landed on 65, you killed the downtown. We weren't opposed to Southbridge Mall. We just thought it should have been developed somewhere else between Monroe and downtown. Fourthly, all these things would have put us on the map and we'd have a vibrant community. But we struck out through our leaders. The target distribution. 1,000 jobs at $13.35 an hour to start. When those companies back in 2000, you hear Councilman Hickey on the tape on the Globe Gazette said that's why he got involved 6 years ago. Councilman Hickey, that was done and over in 2001. I mean, I can see you making 1 year's mistake, but come on, know your facts. We would have had that. We didn't get it because the same thing, controlling the wage cycle. It's big. Google it. You'll talk about controlling the wage. Community has controlled the wage cycle, and it's wrong. The free enterprise has not been healthy here. For those of you that haven't lived in the area your whole lives, you know there were some things that were turned away in the 50s because of one strong family and worried about the wages they'd have to increase. I see a ton of head shaking. So it's controlling the wage cycle. You want to hit a home run? It's time we hit a home run, and that's all it takes is one home run. I'll tell you how you can do that. And I'm serious. You put me in office January 1st and you hit a home run and we're going to turn this town around.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. The next question is, has Quinn's name written on it, and it's directed directly at Quinn. I'll just tell you up front, I'm not a particularly big fan of this question, but since it came, I will ask it. Knowing that you're not going to win, would you consider withdrawing so Max can get your votes?
That's terrible. That's terrible. That's a bad taste. Definitely not. Now?
Oh, it's working now. No. I've got nothing against Max. Max and I go way back. You know, if you know the history, I've known Max since I was a kid. He saved my grandfather's house. You know, I have nothing but respect for the man. But I made a commitment back in April that I was going to run. And, you know, like I said, no disrespect for Max. You know, I made the commitment to run. I'm not backing out for anything or anybody.
And if I could, I would just make a comment that it does take a lot of gumption to get up the nerve to put your name on that ballot, and I congratulate all of you up here for doing that. Thank you. Next question is addressed to Mr. Markworth. Your opponent and the mayor have had some harsh words for you lately. How do you respond?
Keep it clean.
Really, I wish nothing but the best for my opponent, Janet Solberg, and I really, honestly wish only the best for the mayor. I hope he has a productive life after he's served as mayor, and I hope that he enjoys his time in Mason City. Thank you.
Ms. Girk, back at you, touching on jobs again. What role can the city play with your help on the city council to create more jobs?
I think we need to be open to a diverse amount of jobs. I don't think we need to focus on any one particular sector, but I think we need to market all of our attributes and market as well as we can. I think the idea that Mr. Foster about going down to the Department of Economic Development and trying to enlist their help and cooperation, I think would be very beneficial.
Similar line of questioning here from Ms. Draper. This one having to do with jobs, but specifically targeting jobs in the $15 to $20 per hour range. What can Mason City do to bring those type of jobs?
We need to utilize utilize the organizations that are already here, our North Iowa Corridor, Chamber of Commerce, who part of their missions are to bring jobs to Mason City. I believe that we need to support those positions that are there. We need to make them, if they're going to take taxpayers' dollars, to be fiscally responsible, to see how they're turning that around, that we can see how it's being utilized and used for the city. We might need to change some philosophies if it is not showing that we're growing and that we're not getting those types of jobs. Then you have to go back and you have to rework it. You have to start thinking outside the box. I don't think City Council in itself can bring jobs to Mason City. We have people to do that, and organizations. We just need to make sure that they're doing that for us and that we're supporting them.
For Mr. Foster, this one is a question actually dealing with media. What do you think about more and different media competition in the media, adding more media to town?
The council adding media?
Not necessarily. The question specifically states, what do you think about more and different radio stations? I just opened it up to more media.
Well, I would say the
competition in the media.
I always say the more the merrier. When I'm watching TV, I don't stay on CBS or NBC or ABC. I go to CNN and all over the place. MSNBC, the whole 9 yards. I don't go to Fox, believe me. I think we should have a little more open-minded in the media than what they have around here right now. But there's one thing I want to say. I don't want to get away from the question. Max is talking about, you said your park?
The garden?
No, the park, you're going to have natural gas and that type of thing?
Yeah, right, the industrial intermodal park.
Max, when I was on the city council, I thought he was all wet. Wanted to bring windmills in Mason City and put them out there south of Mason City. And I saw, but the more I got into it, I heard from Cedar Falls and where there are a few other towns around here that have their own.
Franklin County.
Right. And talked to folks out to, before they left here, Northwestern, of Holson. They said they were having problems because they were running their gas prices up. And if we could have got a direct pipeline into here, I think they would still have been around here to cut a lot of costs. I think that's one heck of an idea, is to get back on track and get something like that around here. There's windmills all around northern Iowa that we could tap or do our own, number one, and get our own natural gas in the whole 9 yards. So I think that's one heck of an idea, Max.
Okay, let's see, Max is next. Okay, I've got a few different cards here with similar train of thought here, so we'll put them all together here. Starting off with the question of Mayor Bookmeyer, where are you? The second one is, do you think the Globe headline should read incumbent snub forums again? And the third one being, is the mayor afraid to debate you, or is he upset he won't be able to muzzle you?
Let me just say this. The first month, the second month, February of 2010, I came to the council meeting out at Nyack while the Mason City room was having some work done, and sitting in front of me was a dog muzzle. The second meeting I came to were 3 candy bars telling me to sweeten up. Now, I've been through that. I don't need that anymore. You're entitled to more. Here's what I want to say to you. Political capital. Political capital is something you build in the political arena as an elected official. That's why you see these long-term senators, 30, 40 years. We don't want to give them up because they know the ins and outs of Washington. Well, they're a team out there too. There's 2 teams in Washington. And there's obviously a team here that the incumbents are running on as a team. Keep the team, keep the team. You're going to read more and more letters. Keep the team, keep them in place, keep the team. The dream. Let me ask you something. The team effect. How good are those 2 teams working for you in Washington, D.C.? Really, how good are they working for you? They're not. They're not. They're more interested in their political capital and building their resumes and taking care of friends. I hope tonight, Mr. Skipper, that you can see here tonight that these answers that we've given are as diverse as anything you'll see in the country. This is not a team sitting up here of negativity. of bad stuff, that we want to take you down into a terrible hole in the ground and suffocate you and all the things that have been said. It's wrong. We are individuals up here representing what we think will be good government in this community. Now, for anything to take place good in this community from this time on, because we have struck out 4 times, big strikeouts, game-ending strikeouts. All it's going to take is one more home run, like I said. All we need is to land one big fish, and we'll be on our way. We just got to get it there. We got to work together. Now, here's what I'm going to say about that. My 12 years on the city council, you do what I did. You put up a consistent venue of good outside-the-box issues and plans and ideas like I did. I'm full of them. I got all kinds of them that let's work together. Shoot me down just because they didn't want me to have political capital. Why did we want to empower that guy? He's not one of us. Don't make the people like him. Don't show him another side. He's not. I'm not. They say I'm not business friendly. The Globe, John, you wrote, set it up. You set the table. Anti-establishment against the establishment. My name is on a plaque in that Park Inn because I voted for it. I was the one vote that moved Main Street forward. The 4-2 vote, which set up the table for the Park Inn. I did that, and I lost a lot of supporters because I did that. What are you doing? I took the phone calls. I took the heat. Might have been why I lost the election in 2010. But I was willing to do that because I saw the greatness and the good things that will come of it. I'm tired of having to sit at the table and be ignored of the good ideas that I bring. I know you've seen it. I know you say it. That's a good idea, Max. But I also know that you say, Max, slow down. Be more gentle. I get that message too. And I'm going to bring all those good things to be your ambassador. I have turned down 4 endorsements in the community. Endorsements, strong endorsements from groups. Because that's not where I'm going. I'm not running for city council. I'm going to be your leader, a leader to everyone in the community. Those endorsements, I don't want them. I want your endorsement, individually, your families, your neighborhood, the community's endorsement. Vote Max.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Question here for Mr. Simmons, and I don't know if you know the answer to this. It seems like more of a media question, but I'm running low on questions here, and we'll wrap it up. How many candidate forums were there in 2009, and who sponsored them? Maybe you can just comment on this year's forums.
This year's forum?
Actually, that's for everybody.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, this year's forums was the Boilermakers last Saturday morning. This one was organized by Chris Watts over there. 2010, 2009, sorry. Thank you, Max. You know, I don't know. I'm imagining Chris might have organized one back then too, maybe. Yeah. Just a wild guess.
Okay. That's right. All right. Thank you. Yep. Mr. Markwart, would you like to respond to that as well?
I'm just amazed we got 2 in with the atmosphere that's been propagated by the incumbents and the so-called other media in town. It's Chris is a great volunteer in the community, and I'm just ecstatic that he was able to put this together and put his neck out there and get us here tonight and give us an opportunity to address the people in Mason City. You guys deserve answers. We should be called on the carpet to, you know, explain our positions and articulate and try to convince you to vote for us, and you should be able to make up your mind based on us coming here and sitting before you and taking good and bad questions, whatever. I thought that was what democracy was. I thought that was what America was all about. You know, so I'm glad that we got 2 chances anyway. So,
okay. Anybody else would like to respond to the question about the forums in 2009?
I believe I remember one KNG, where Max squared off with Mayor Marinas.
Do you have to talk like that?
And I think nothing happened. It's unfortunate that we couldn't have all of the candidates here tonight. But I thank all of you for your interest, and I think it's terrific the support and the people that came out tonight. And I too want to add my thanks to Chris Watts. He's done a remarkable job over the years, and we especially like to thank the moderator. He's done a wonderful job tonight.
I believe there was KMT. I believe there was also, did the Globe do one an interview? And I was looking at a radio station I was listening to, but I don't remember exactly which one. So was it the Chamber too? So 3 or 4. And I remember actually, I think it was also Max. And Jean, and I'm sorry. So yeah, there were 3 or 4.
Are they taking barbs at you, man?
No, just because that, that's the one that sticks out in my head too, though. But I do remember there was at least 3, probably 4. So, and these were put together quickly because no one else was doing them. They had been reached out to. I have copies of the emails that said they were not interested, they were doing it a different way. So for everyone who put these together, we very much appreciate it, because door knocking is very important, getting people at their home in their environment where they're comfortable to be able to talk and speak. However, when you get to do a forum like this, the community gets to hear what other people are thinking and the questions that they have. We also get to address them at one time with several people here. So, and we get to hear the other ideas of the other candidates, because believe it or not, I really haven't spoken to them. Not that much.
Mr. Foster?
Yes, I don't remember the years, but I've ran probably 3 or 4 times now, and every time I've run, up until this time, there's always been at least 3 to 4. The Globe, the Chamber, I think KGO, Mr. Watts always had one, at least 3 to 4. But at all of those, all of the folks have showed up. Nobody used an excuse about somebody bad mouthing somebody else. That's politics. If that's there hasn't been any bad mouthing in this group, period. That's an excuse. It's a lame excuse.
Actually, because I know how the process works, we do have many venues. We used to have many venues. It's a direct relationship to the regime that we have. I have no idea how Mayor Bookmeyer has been able to shut up the media in this community and do what he did on KGLO, 3 Eagles out there, and make the comments that he did about our good citizens and a business owner, and throw my name in it too. I don't understand it. I felt I would get a call from Darlene Bars, the general manager, and I did. I thought, well, I'll get my 3 minutes, because he said I was a bully, and that this guy over here was Max Weaver on steroids, and Tony Drapery brought your name in too. I thought I was going to get equal time, 3 minutes. No, she called me and left a message that she wanted to sell me advertising. Tonight, I called the Chamber of Commerce and talked to, said the calendar was booked. I took that and I said, well, we leave my name and number with Robin Anderson. Never called me back. I talked to John Skipper about various different things on the phone. Are we going to have John shaking his head agreeing? We're going to do this, do that. Then he sends out a letter that says he's doing things differently this time. He's going to give us 300 words to tell us all about our campaign. 300 words? That's a letter to the editor. There was a day the Globe Gazette would give you 2 10-inch columns, and they would let you have your profile and a photo. It's gradually going away. Tonight, Mr. Fisher, I'd like you to agree with what I'm saying, if you would. I came up to you and I talked to you and I asked you, are you having the mayoral debates yet this year? Are you going to have me, Mr. Bookmeyer, Mayor Bookmeyer, or do we get to come out? You made some reference about we advertised this tonight.
That's what I thought your question was, sir.
Well, are you going to have us out to your radio park like you had years and years and years before?
We have no plans to do anything like that this year.
And why is that?
If you want to know the real reason, I was not able to put proper planning on that because of some health issues that have been going through?
Well, I'm sorry about that, Mr. Fisher, I really am.
I hope so.
But Mr. Foster's had a lot of things go on in his life, and he just got out of the hospital too, didn't you? And I want to break any HIPAA violations, but he's been in the hospital and has made time to get out and meet the public. There's more than one employee out there at Radio Park, I'm sure, isn't there? Somebody else could have delegated that. I've met with not just you, I met with other out there. So I'm just saying, something's wrong, people. Something's wrong in the health of the debate and the democracy in this town, and it starts at the top. If we were a business company like he wants to run it, too much Rupert Murdoch, not enough Andy Taylor, you, the stockholders, would be very upset with what direction we're taking this business. It's in the wrong direction, and I know none of you like it. Now, how are we going to win? Are we going to let those 16,000 people elect your next mayor and council members because they don't vote? Are we going to get out and make a special effort, take people to the courthouse from 8 to 4:30, ask family and friends? It's a special effort. And the young people, the most critical component of our community, the young people. We need to attract them and get them involved because they are our future.
Thank you, Max. Mr. Watts has requested microphone, so I'll pass it to him. Yeah, and then we'll do closing comments after that.
That last question kind of sparked a nerve with me, and I just have to address this, and I'll turn it back over to Sean for closing comments. First off, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming tonight. For over 20 years, I've been doing these forums in Mason City through multiple groups, through the Elks, through the Moose. The Hanford helped me put it on, the Prime tonight, and unfortunately, the last election cycle, it didn't happen. And it didn't happen for a reason. There was about 12 of us that showed up in this room because the word wasn't out there. And you guys talked about democracy. I knocked on a lot of doors in Mason City, having run for office in the past. My hand and the heart goes out to each and every one of you. I know what you went through. It's grueling. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time to show up tonight. But the one key thing, as far as the democracy and you guys sitting up there, over 20 years ago I went out to a forum hosted by the Chamber out at Nyack. And myself and a gentleman by the name of Tom Stiebel sat in the front row, and probably about as far as these guys are from the front row. And we wrote our questions, and I don't remember what the question was at the time, but it was an intelligent question, I thought at the time. Anyway, I watched the person at the front table read my question and Tom Stiebel's, crumple them up, and throw them off to the side. When I left that room that night, that's when I decided we're doing what we're doing here tonight. Because you guys are all entitled to vote, or to vote and to ask questions of the candidates, stupid or not. I think Sean's done a great job. There's no direct attacks and no negativity, but this is our representation for Mason City, and it's your right to ask the questions, and I hope to see these forums continue in the future. Again, thanks for showing up. Sean, you did an exceptional job. I appreciate it, and we'll start with closing comments.
Well, yeah, we're not done yet, so let's get the closing comments going. We left off with Mr. Simmons, so we'll pick up the closing comments there with Mr. Quinn Simmons. Go right ahead, closing comments, sir.
I want to thank Chris for organizing this event, you as well for moderating it. I think you did a great job being impartial with all the questions. Skipper and Fisher back there. Ewan, I don't know where you hide your bravery at. Maybe in your hair. Sorry, that was a joke. That was a joke. I do too. I'm jealous. I am. I didn't put any product in, but whatever. The crowd, you guys have been great. I got asked some tough questions. Took it with stride. I hope that everybody can bypass all the personal issues and the drama and the he said, she said, and all the excuses for our incumbents to not show up. I think it's disgraceful. You know, we live in a country where people fight and die for the right to run for office. It's very important that, you know, our elected officials take these debates seriously, because they are serious. You know, if they want to stand by their record and not answer any tough questions here at the meetings, I say vote them out. You know, whether it's me or Max, vote for one of us. All right, thanks. You guys have been great.
Thank you. Matt, go ahead.
Well, I just want to do the thank yous here. First of all, I think everybody that came out here tonight, that's the main thing, is that all you guys came and that all of the challengers took time to come out here and do what's right, and face all of you. Like I just said, Sean, once again, a great job coming up here, taking time away from your family, coming all the way from Hampton. Of course, Chris Watts, someone that I got a lot of respect for, who you know, gets involved politically. It's not easy. He's taken a lot of punishment. Even today in the newspaper, they had to take a shot at Mr. Watts. He's a great volunteer who works super hard on his south side of Mason City to restore parks, build basketball courts. I mean, leave him out of it. But anyway, you know, I've worked darn hard for a couple months here. I've walked the neighborhoods. I've visited with people, taken the phone calls. I really have a lot of passion for Mason City. I really want to win this election. I really want to work hard for the people and do good things. And I hope that you'll vote for me, and I hope you'll consider some of these other people up here as well. They all have their hearts in the right place. They're all great people. They're not attached to you know, some of these other agencies in town. They just want to do what's right for the people in Mason City. I've gotten to see that in them in this brief amount of time that I've known some of them. So thanks for coming again, and we'll see you after the 5th.
Cheryl.
I just would like to thank all of you for coming out tonight. It's so gratifying to see this type of democracy in action. I know you all took time out of your busy schedules and you asked some excellent questions. I'd like to thank Chris for putting it on, and Mr. Dietz from Hampton coming up. He's done a wonderful job here. I guess I'd like to say to you, it heartens me to see your interest in government. I think we all would like to represent you and see that your voice is included in Mason City. But most of all, I want to encourage you to at least get out and vote. Yeah.
Thank you. Jody, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, for coming here. I'm sure it took a lot of thought if you really wanted to come here at this time. I really appreciate it. Mr. Watts, for doing this and putting this together so we had a chance to address the public. I really appreciate that. For the candidates who came, I thank you for coming, sharing your ideas with me. I also am a citizen that has to vote, so I have a decision to make. I want you to know that I'm glad you're here. I have been going to meetings for over a year, and it is very disheartening as a citizen to sit there and no one is there. One or two people would, but if it's not employees or someone getting a certificate, they're not there to voice their ideas. I don't know if they're making the phone calls, if they're sending emails, but I do know when 5 or 6 people do show up because a situation has made them compassionate about an idea that is going to be passed. And 5 or 6 of those people all say, please do not do this. And the vote is unanimously yes. That is not government working for the people. I'm asking you to vote for me for Ward 2 because I'm going to tell you I'm going to work for you. I'm going to be your voice at that table. And so I want you to vote for Jody Draper to live in Ward 2. Thank you.
Leonard, go ahead.
Yes, I'm glad to see all the faces out here tonight, the young, the middle-aged, and the seniors. I got to be one here a few years ago. These faces remind me when I was on the city council. There were smiles, and I'm sure there was some anger, but there was still a lot of smiles. And people went home satisfied, so to speak, because they were heard. And if I was going to say when they mentioned about being sick, yeah, I was. I'm being okay now. My wife passed away, which you know, and I appreciate your condolences and your sympathy to all of you. But if she knew, if she even thought that I was going to back out of this and drop down, she would chew my you-know-what. So I've got to continue on, and I'm going to continue on, and I hope with your help that I can be at large city council to help the folks here get things straightened out. Thank you.
Next. Sean Dietz, Mayor of Hampton. Chris, I hope this is a trend again that we're bringing these back. I just got the 30-second sign. I like it. Thank you, Mayor Bookmeyer. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the turnout, all of you coming here. I feel like I'm kind of talking, singing to the choir. I wish more people would show up. It's very disrespectful. I want to say this, Leonard has had a rough couple of years with the family. And you're right about Mary Ann, and you won't find a more honest person than Leonard Foster. And that's too important. I want to say that I've name dropped here tonight. It's something that I've never done at a campaign, but it's been critical for me to do that, important to me to do that. I've dropped Councilman Alex Kuhn's name and John Rowe, two people who I want their vote. I want their support, because I respect what they have to say, and what they do and what they represent. And we are somewhat different in some of the things, how we get there. But it's important for me to know that they know that I'm talking to them tonight specifically. Chris, when you talked about the thing, debates here 2 years ago that we had 14, 15 people, I also want to recognize that Councilman Kuhn, Alex Kuhn, showed up. He had the courage to come in here. I saw his face when he cut that door. What he was walking into, and he was new at it. It's his first campaign. And I felt for him, but it was rough, Alex. It was rough here, if you remember. With that said, I want to say this. I have a pledge that I'm going to make to you, because I know you have the one issue with me. One issue. How many issues do you have with the person I'm running against? You have one issue with me, and that's what Max Weaver is going to show up. And this is my pledge to you. I don't think I've ever heard a candidate locally or even nationally make a personal pledge. And that pledge is to my community, the citizens, my family, that I'm going to be the best darn mayor this city's ever seen. And that's a promise. And I'm going to work hard at being inclusive and bringing everybody in. John Rowe, Alex, we're going to lay our swords down politically for the benefit of this community. And I'm going to give you lots of ideas, lots of good thoughts. Not interested in building political capital. I'm interested in doing what's right. I don't plan on going up higher, lower. I got other plans. I need to embrace the younger fellas that I just mentioned. I need to embrace the men and women that are our future and the young people. I know how to do that. I'm willing to do that. I'm getting to be to that point where I'm going to be an old timer here. And I recognize that, but I have fresh ideas, the energy, and the leadership that you deserve over my history. Now, with that said, look what I'm running against. Here's really the difference. Eric Bookmeyer came into town. I flew into town. He's taking credit for everything. He, in a comment in the Globe, and I want to thank John Skipper for being, the Globe Gazette has done a good job over this. They really have. They've had us in. They've given us they've done a good job. And they were Saturday to our thing. They're here today. I want to make that clear. He came into town with his decorum, discipline, and diligence, the 3 Ds. And that's what he ran on 4 years ago. He's going to take control of everything. Well, he did. He's got the media confused. He's got everybody. I'm not sure where we're going and I don't like it. I stole that from him. I've got my 3 Ds. But first I want to say this to you. He needs Mayor Eric Bookmeyer. He's a young man. Someday he might find his place in the political arena. I feel like he's peaked after 2 years as your mayor. I've been doing this for 30 years. And here I am again with your support. That's longevity. That's experience. But I want to add 2 more Ds to Mayor Bookmeyer's 3 Ds that he's campaigning with. And that's disappearance and disrespectful. That's all it is. And for him to convince the other colleagues not to show up, you heard what Scott Tornquist said somewhere, which, by the way, I want to say this publicly. Do not let the blogs elect your council. Do not elect the blogs, those anonymous comments that are floating around, whether it's the Globe or NIT. Do not let those comments elect your city council. That's just really, there's been some things, it's just not right. My 3 Ds are going to be democracy, diversity, and dedication. And I'm going to show you and work with you to bring those things for everybody. If you want to say your last big chance to have a say in this community, we're talking the next 4 years. There'll be a lot of changes in this crowd in the next 4 years, including me. Your last big chance to do something right is sitting right here. I'll work for you. You have a choice. I hope you make the best choice for the community and for yourselves and vote Max Weaver.
Well, I want to thank everybody for showing up. Certainly want to thank all of the crowd for showing up. Great questions, all of the candidates as well. And one thing I'll just add to that, I don't care what your political stripes are, there's a lot of problems in this country, but if you want to start to fix those problems, you do it at the local level, and you do it by turning out the vote locally. And I don't care if you vote for the incumbents or you vote for these guys, it doesn't matter. You got to get the turnout up to where the national turnout is. You got to have 60, 70% turnout at the local level. That's how you fix the problems. Thank you, everybody. Good night.